Invest 93L is moving over Florida, and a strong tropical wave is moving through the eastern Caribbean. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's great to see you on a Tuesday. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, all the newest information on Invest 93L, what's been happening today, the prospects of potential tropical development in the eastern Gulf started tomorrow. Real brisk tropical wave in the eastern Caribbean, a lot of wind and some good shower activity in portions of that area. Let's get into the video, friends. As always, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. It's storm season and the storm moves into your area, causes damage. They can walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Go to leanomnelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, want to hear from the Meteo Mundo weather community, what's been happening in your area, what the weather has been like. You just want to drop a high. I appreciate that as well. So again, Invest 93L sitting off the east coast of Florida will be moving across the state as we go deeper into this Wednesday. Brisk tropical wave in the eastern Caribbean right now, another one on the heels of that. And we still have that Saharan air layer in the western Caribbean, generally bringing a little bit drier conditions there. But we're going to start off the video with what's been happening with 93L. Now, the center of circulation is farther up the east coast of Florida than what it was this time yesterday. Has not developed into a tropical depression as of yet. Still a very broad, somewhat disorganized system. When I bring on the visible satellite imagery here, you're going to note that the low-level spin associated with this is now much farther up to the north, near the St. Augustine area at this point in time. And you can clearly see that spin, but that's going to have some potential ramifications as to ultimately what could happen with Invest 93L as it emerges into the eastern Gulf. Because if it continues this northwest move, rather than going due west, does the low-level center actually get back offshore? It's actually a fairly big question to ask right now, and it could ultimately really determine the fate of 93L. This is not a bad thing to try and keep, obviously, the low-level center inland. Now, south of there, we have a mid-level center kind of over the Orlando area right now, and there is an opportunity that the system could reconsolidate near that mid-level center, and if it does, then you do have the stronger center back offshore in the eastern Gulf beginning tomorrow. But there are a lot more questions right now than what we had 24 hours ago. We'll take a look at the models coming up in just a second. Now, one thing it is bringing is a ton of rain, rich tropical moisture over Florida. There was one area just yesterday that had over 10 inches of rain. We continue to see hefty showers moving through portions of the northern Bahamas from Walker's Key to Grand Bahama, Freeport, Lucaya, High Rock. Bimini has had some good showers and storms as well. Scattered rain over the Andros area towards Nassau, Eleuthera, and the Abacos. Now, as the center moves off to the north and to the west, all of the winds here in South Florida and the Bahamas will turn out of the south, and that is a lot of moisture-laden air. Notice that the area is still orange at this point in time. We still have a 40% chance to develop it. It hasn't skyrocketed up, because of, again, some of the uncertainty of where that low-level center is really going to be tracking and if we actually get that center to move offshore. A couple of things I want to show you guys here. I'm going to switch on over to, and let me zoom in just a little bit here. The HER model, it's the high resolution rapid refresh. Now, I mentioned this yesterday that it's not a fantastic tropical model, but when you're looking at kind of, again, what could be happening in the short term with the opportunity for some rain, I wanted to show you guys how this could evolve in the coming hours. So let me bring this up. Again, there's the center right over St. Augustine. First of all, it's going to be very wet and sloppy for the remainder of today into tomorrow for a lot of the Bahamas. You can clearly see a fair amount of shower activity at least through your Wednesday morning. South winds will bring a lot of rain to Florida, portions of the southeast, but does the center get back offshore and wrap up into anything that would be significant in regards to tropical development? That is a much bigger question as we're going deeper into this Tuesday. So let me show you the computer models. We'll start off with the European model. Notice again, it doesn't really even develop a low-level center until it kind of gets off of the Pensacola coastline. Then it hugs the coast of Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana and keeps a very weak system. It does develop a low-level center, but it's a very weak one. The Icon model is about the same way. you're only going to see a very weak low-level center develop there as it gets closer to the Louisiana coastline. And again, all the models have picked up on the fact that the center is now farther north and could ultimately just stay inland as it moves basically west across I-10 and through the United States Southeast. Still an opportunity, but these signals are much weaker than what they were 24 hours ago. This is the HAFS-A model of sustained winds. Now, there's going to be fresh winds along the northern Gulf, and these are, again, sustained winds, which could be pushing the threshold of getting into tropical depression or weak tropical storm status. Remember, Dexter is the next named storm, but do we wrap up a true low-level center? Now look, regardless, again, very heavy, potentially flooding rainfall in Florida today, and then spreading west across the northern Gulf Coast over the next several days. So you got to make sure that you stay weather aware in this area. But as far as the actual potential to get true tropical development, it's come down just a little bit for today from the factors that I just mentioned. So I'll go back over to the visible satellite imagery for you guys one more time here, just so you guys can get one more look at the system itself. Again, a lot of heavy rain and stormy conditions will continue throughout Florida and portions of the Bahamas. All right, I'm going to reset the map here real quickly. We're going to go out to the broad perspective, and then we're going to get back into the forecast across the rest of our area. Once again, storms are fairly prolific today, northwest of the Bahamas. Good activity over the Andros area, Nassau, New Providence. We've had a few scattered showers over the central Bahamas, southeast Bahamas. There's a little bit of Sahara dust here, but also a little bit of tropical moisture trying to stream back in towards Mayaguana and Turks and Caicos. So the opportunity for a little bit of cloud coverage and a few showers possible there. Thunderstorms have been breaking out fairly prolifically here across Cuba for today. Once again, south winds beginning to come back in, moisture-laden air. You guys know I've got the live cameras here at Meteo Mundo, so we've got to take a live look to central Eleuthera, Governor's Harbor. A little bit earlier, saw the good brisk shower move through. Pretty gusty winds from time to time, but again, it's all dependent on when the rain moves through the area. At this point in time, it's not a bad shot, and it's not going to be extremely widespread rain for the central Eleuthera area here. We'll continue to see some passing showers, but again, tropical downpours associated with this. So very heavy rainfall is still a possibility. Notice that there's a lot of rotation with these storms. I can't rule out an isolated waterspout or even an isolated weak, brief tornado in Florida because of the inherent rotation that comes along with a system that's this large. It's a possibility. It's not a non-zero chance. Now, we're still relatively dry in the northwest Caribbean for today. Let me bring on the actual current temperatures. We're trying to stream in a couple of showers here into Jamaica at the hour, but again, they're still fairly isolated. A little bit of a lightning count picks up here right at the end in kind of interior, hillier sections. So, you know, if you've had a shower or a brief thunderstorm today in Jamaica, let me know in the comments section below. Otherwise, it's been somewhat of a hazy, somewhat of a hot, obviously somewhat of a humid forecast here. These are going to be pretty isolated. If anything, they'll develop in the interior hill country and then work their way towards the southern coastline. So ultimately, Sav-la-Mar and Black River towards Mandeville, Maypen, Hayes, Old Harbor, maybe as far east as Kingston. You know, there's an opportunity. It's not a big one, but the opportunity is there. We're relatively dry in the Cayman Islands for today. It's been a quiet day here. Temperatures have been right around 90 degrees Fahrenheit for a daytime high. We're starting to try and get a few more showers to move back in over Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Once again, low-level winds out of the east, but you've got your mid-level winds out of the south, and so that's why you kind of see that intersection of the clouds here on this visible satellite imagery. It hasn't spelled a lot of rain for today. It's been a little bit drier overall. If you've caught a couple of showers, consider yourselves lucky because it's been hot. And speaking of hot, that's what we're seeing right now in Puerto Rico, where we have a heat advisory that's currently into play. Now, we're going to get better shower and storm chances here, and we're to continue to see very gusty winds. Look at these numbers on the screen for you right now as I bring back on the visible satellite imagery here. San Juan, over 30-mile-an-hour wind. Same thing for Ponce, Aguadilla, close to that. Same thing for St. Croix and St. Thomas and St. John. We've had a few showers today in the northwest side of Puerto Rico, but they've been few and far between. But this tropical wave is obviously kicking up a lot of wind, and you can clearly see that right now in the Leeward Islands as well. St. Martin, 30-mile-an-hour breeze. St. Bart's has been over a 32-mile-an-hour wind for today. A few passing showers associated with that tropical wave. The moisture content is not as high this far north, but we've had a couple of passing showers there. Brisk winds over Guadalupe for today. Antigua, Barbuda as well, my friends there. Montserrat, Dominica, again, easterlies will continue to shine through on over towards St. Lucia. When you get down into the Windward Islands, and this is where we start to see a little bit better rain chances, especially for the southern sides of the Grenadines, Grenada, and Trinidad and Tobago. 30-mile-an-hour wind there in Grenada, passing showers beginning to develop over Trinidad and Tobago, especially over Tobago at the hour right now. So it's not as widespread, and we've had a couple of showers trying to eke up towards Barbados, but where we are seeing this concentration of this tropical wave, we're seeing some good, hefty downpours and some good winds. My friends in Grenada, let me know in the comment section below. We've had a fairly active day. Not much farther north in the island chain, St. Lucia. And then, I've got that live camera there. So the live look to Corinth, St. Lucia on this Tuesday afternoon. Once again, looks fairly nice. Fair weather skies. Again, can't rule out a brisk moving shower. Good wind from time to time as well. But it's not a bad Tuesday afternoon there in St. Lucia. All the activity has been a little bit farther off to the south. Some of this could slip over Nueva Esparta, and it's been another lovely day in the ABC Islands. Not a lot of wind overall. I mean, of course, we have a fresh breeze from time to time, but it hasn't been a horrible day for Bonaire, Curacao, and Aruba, with temperatures there that have been mainly in the upper 80s to right around 90 degrees. Live look outside to Oranjestad. Look at that sun glinting there on the coastal water by the beach. What a fantastic shot. Again, a good breeze, nothing outrageous. Fresh easterlies, 15 to 25 miles an hour for the most part, but a lovely, lovely day there in Aruba. Again, can't rule out an isolated passing shower, but not as much. Now look, here is an area that needed to dry out. Southern sides of Central America, and they've done so for today. Much drier conditions over Panama and Costa Rica, and that will include areas to the north, Nicaragua, as you head on over towards Honduras, my friends in Belize, and Quintana Roo, and Guatemala. I'll put on the visible satellite imagery here. Again, you've got a few showers trying to develop. It's mainly been about the wind, and it's mainly been about the heat. Roatan up to 91 today. San Ignacio has hit 95. Now, a little bit closer to where we actually have more moisture coming back in again, spinning around Invest 93L. We've seen a few thunderstorms develop, especially on the tip of the Yucatan, right over the Cancun, Cozumel areas, or just inland from that. If you live there or visiting along the coastline, turn your head to the west, inland, and you're going to see some prolific thunderstorms. Some of that is trying to drift towards the Merida area at this point in time. It's a little bit more isolated there, but they are going to try and build back off to the west, and temperatures there have been in the 90s. So there'll be a few showers and storms across portions of the Yucatan as we go through the late afternoon hours of this Tuesday. Okay, forecast time, friends. As we do so, thanks for taking a quick second and liking this video. We welcome you to join this Meteo Mundo weather community. We've got an awesome one. Hit that subscribe button right now. Appreciate those who have found ways to support the channel. The super thanks, the description and the chats in the video below. If you want to become a member, we've got two tiers. The supporter tier is 99 cents a month. If you want to become a Team MM member and get access to exclusive member shorts, that's just $2.99 a month, and I really appreciate all of our members here at Meteo Mundo. So the Saharan dust will still be a factor in the Caribbean in the coming days. Now, the next plume is not going to be as concentrated, but you see it coming back in. Now, it's still going to have some pretty good impacts for the Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico over the next couple of days, and then it does begin to disperse relatively quickly as we get towards the weekend. So letting that loop up one more time, again, our Saharan dust is west right now, pretty thick. Thursday, Friday, Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, over Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And then as we get towards the weekend, it disperses. So it's our Eastern Caribbean areas with the most impact with this next Saharan air layer coming in to, again, try and limit thunderstorm chances just a bit. So let's get into the forecast. I'm going to bring up her model once again, our high resolution rapid refresh. No, that's not the high resolution rapid refresh. We're going to bring up the GFS model. I know what I'm talking about. I have done a lot of talking in the various channels that I do, looking at a lot of the different models. So apologize if I misrepresent one model. But this is going to be and I want to make sure I get the timing right. This is going to be the GFS model. We're going to take a look at it over the next 3 days, and then we will deep dive a little bit more into the overall tropical outlook. Now, again, most of the action from this tropical wave moving in right now is going to bring better rain chances and higher rain totals to the Windward Islands, especially Grenada, TNT. Can't rule out some of the Grenadines, maybe even up towards St. Lucia and Barbados, catching a brief heavier shower, but the higher concentration and the better overall rain chance will be down there. Once again, the rain chance overall for the rest of the island chain is not horrible. It's just that there's still fairly shallow moisture in play to get you anything more than a brisk passing shower is about the highest that we're going to see here in the forecast for the next 3 days. And starting late Thursday, and especially on Friday, that Saharan air layer moves in, and it really begins to limit the opportunity for some showers. It's going to get hot again as well. Scattered rain for my friends in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Better chance for your Wednesday. More isolated to scattered Thursday, and then drying out again on Friday. So if we're going to get some rain for Yost Van Dyke and Virgin Gorda, Rotown, Tortola area, Anegada, it's going to have to happen tomorrow early on Thursday. Same situation for St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Otherwise, again, the heat is a big story. Scattered rain over portions of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Again, decent rain chances here. You can see the model wants to be a little bit more aggressive as we get towards Thursday and Friday, especially on the Haitian side of the island. You know, it's not a bad situation, but heavy rainfall, again, could lead to isolated flooding in some of those spots. Scattered rain as the Saharan air layer moves away begins to return in Jamaica. Nothing outrageously high, but should be a little bit better chance. And at this point in time, we don't have the large wave and strong wind advisory. That's good, especially for the boaters and the fishermen in the southern offshore waters. But we're still going to see the opportunity for a few thunderstorms to develop each and every afternoon, which is, again, not a bad thing. Still going to favor southern parishes for the best chance for those thunderstorms in the afternoon hours, kind of based on the overall pattern that I see. Now, we'll work our way up towards the Bahamas. Again, you know, not a lot for the Turks and Caicos, southeast Bahamas the next couple of days. We'll dry out a bit here in the northern and the central Bahamas as well. Still going to see some moisture associated with Invest 93L for your Wednesday, but it's going to be beginning to drag away. But the south winds are so moisture laden, it's not going to take much to fire off a heavier thunderstorm, gusty winds, torrential downpours in a couple of spots as well, and again, some rotation. And you notice on the GFS model here, you know, again, just over the next few days, it stays a very wet, sloppy system in the northern Gulf here as well. So nothing has really picked up on this really becoming a stronger tropical storm, which is fantastic news for our friends in the northern Gulf. We'll just see how it plays out. But again, it's good model trend over the next couple of days. For the Yucatan, scattered showers, again, a little bit higher chance tomorrow, and that Saharan air layer comes in, you'll get a little bit of hazy sky, but some thunderstorms in the isolated variety developing in the afternoon hours. We're going to return back to an isolated chance here in coastal Belize and Guatemala and the northern sides of Honduras, including the Bay Islands, right around a 30% chance most afternoons. Still fresh winds, still on the hotter side, cool things off from time to time, but nothing outrageously concentrated. We have quieted down a bit here, you know, last couple of days through at least tomorrow, and then we'll ramp it back up again beginning on Thursday, especially down southern Honduras, Nicaragua, back down towards Costa Rica and Panama. We'll see the monsoon trough kind of re-engage, and that will provide heavier downpours, Panama, Costa Rica areas a little bit up to the north. Best chance for rain the next couple of days for the AV Islands should occur on Thursday. You can see a little bit of that green on the map. Look, I'm not talking much, but there will be some locally heavy downpours, but very localized. I don't expect there to be a lot of widespread rain, but as that wave moves through, we'll kick a couple of better showers in the forecast as well. And again, for the Bermuda area here, scattered rain, but nothing too prolific at this point in time. So let's get into the island by island forecast. It looks like this. Northwest Bahamas, still a 40% chance the next couple of days, but the heavy rain chance begins to wind down starting tomorrow. Then we're left with a relatively quiet forecast on Friday. Central and southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, very limited rain chances the next several days. Cuba's rain chances stay on the higher side. Cayman Islands, decent chance tomorrow at a 40% chance. Again, some passing showers, then a 30% chance for Thursday and Friday. We'll kind of flip it in Belize City, where it's a little bit drier still tomorrow, Thursday, building rain chances on Friday. Cancun and Cozumel's rain chances should actually build back up. I know we had a few storms inland today, but overall the coverage should actually improve again Thursday and into Friday. Jamaica's rain chances are decent, nothing outrageous, but a 40% chance tomorrow, 30 I've got for Thursday, Friday. Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico's rain chances are highest tomorrow. Still could see some pockets of heavier rain, especially on the eastern sides of the island. Then as the Saharan air layer moves in within this region, you're going to see the rain chances lower Thursday and especially on Friday. Same situation for the USVI and BVI. Again, good chance for rain for my friends in Christiansted and St. Croix and the Road Town area. Vieques and Culebra are included in all of this as well, but then we fall off fairly quickly into Friday. But again, Bermuda's rain chances build a bit, but not outrageously high. And Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis will enjoy some passing showers tomorrow, and then more isolated Thursday and Friday. And that's about the same scenario here in most of the Lesser Antilles. A little bit higher chance tomorrow farther north, my friends in Antigua and Barbuda. Lower chances as that axis of the tropical moisture moves west for Martinique, St. Lucia, SVG. But these are the areas with the best chance for more heavier rain. So higher rain chances farther north, but better heavier rain chances farther off to the south, but much more limited overall when that Saharan air layer really gets entrenched on Friday. Now look, it's not going to stick around long, late Thursday, Friday, out of here sometime on Saturday, but within this forecast period time frame, you see it really knocks down the rain chances. Still some brisk moving showers for Barbados, but especially Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago for tomorrow. Suriname and Guyana with some decent rain chances. Still relatively dry in Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands. And again, the ABC Islands' best chance is going to be on Thursday. We could, at any point in time, see small craft advisories hoisted back up for portions of the Caribbean, places like Curacao and even on over towards Belize and the Bay Islands. We could see that large wave and strong wind advisory reemerge for the southern coastline of Jamaica, because you can see those fresh winds and the waves kicking up associated with that. When you get to those yellows, those are wave heights of around 10 feet. Now, again, we could see a little bit of building waves in the Northeast Gulf in association with 93L, but if it never fully wraps up a low-level center, probably just more kind of swells here. Still, small craft should exercise caution. More than likely, there'll be small craft advisories and some marine statements issued for the Northern Gulf regardless because of the increase in wave heights. Fresher winds coming back into Turks and Caicos, southeast Bahamas will kick things up, especially in the exposed waters of the Atlantic, where we can see some long period swells. European rainfall totals, they're going to be relatively impressive in most spots in the northern side of the Bahamas, through Florida and the Gulf. Another secondary area, again, back into the southern sides of Central America. Other than that, it's more scattered variety, at least over the next couple of days, with maybe 25 to 50 millimeters or 1 to 2 inches in most areas, but locally higher amounts associated with some of that heavier rainfall. Apologies, took a quick sip of some water. Do a lot of talking this time of the year. So back out to the broad view. I'm going to extend this out, and then we're going to take the GFS model out. Let's see here, the 15th. We'll go out to the 22nd. Just want to kind of talk about the overall prospects for any other tropical development, okay? Again, a 40% chance with 93 up. Otherwise, things are looking pretty good, right? Nothing has my spidey sense up for anything else. There's going to be another possibility east of Florida with another decaying front down the road, maybe starting around the 20th, 21st, 22nd, to do something just like Chantal did and 93L did. That's probably the next area I'll be watching, but it's so far the forecast right now, and there's a lot of things that could ultimately not even allow this to happen, but you can see the moisture kind of building back down in that area along that old front in that trough line. It's the same scenario as I mentioned the last two times. The Western Atlantic outside of that in the Atlantic Basin are relatively quiet. This is actually drier air that the model is picking up on. Now, the intertropical convergence zone is getting a bit more active. We actually have a low-level spin there right now, but it's still too far south to really have a lot of impact. But again, this time of the year is when we start to see that line build north. And I want you to notice right at the end of that model time frame, as we get about a week out in time, you start to see that ITCZ begin a little bit farther north latitude climb, which ultimately starts to put portions of the Lesser Antilles more in line for more robust tropical waves, especially as we get into early August and the ones in the west, off the West African coast, hold together and come through the Atlantic Basin. Otherwise, I do expect there to be more moisture to return with the southern side of the monsoon trough and slipping back over portions of Central America. Real quick look, by the way, at the vorticity or the spin in the atmosphere. Again, this is kind of a good indication of the composite of the low levels of the atmosphere where we would see some twist. Let me take off the tropical outlook here so my friends who live in this area can clearly see that the GFS model is painting on some broad spin, right? But nothing is very wrapped up with this. I'm cautiously optimistic we stay with a very weak system here, okay? There it is again right here. Broad, rainmaker, flood potential, but a true low-level center that wraps up into a stronger tropical storm. I don't expect it. Could we still get Dexter out of it? It's a possibility. It all really depends on if that center stays offshore or moves back inland, or basically stays inland. And again, down the road, some of this that you see here could get a little bit more interesting as well. Keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, again, when we look back down here, you're going to see a bit of spin here associated with this ITZZ, and it picks up a little bit as we get towards the end of this period. So that's another feature that I'll be watching very closely as well. Gets a little bit more interesting in that area towards the end of the month. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for taking a quick second and liking this video and subscribing, and follow us across all of social media. You can do so on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, it's mymeteomundo@gmail.com. You have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the lean law firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They cover the entire state. You get storm damage, wind, hail, hurricane, doesn't matter what it is. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process, offering free consultation and policy reviews. Go to leanomelaw.com if you would like more information. Friends, I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. I'm back tomorrow with your latest forecast right here at Meteo Mundo.